Hey folks, Stephen Michael here in San Antonio, Texas, and another bit of historical video for probably more for my children and grandchildren than for the general public. But I'm on Porter Street right now, and this is 727 Porter Street. This is where my maternal grandmother resided. This is her house right here. We would come over every Sunday. All 30 cousins. Yep, Aunt Helen had 10 kids, and then all the other 4 aunts that I had 6 kids. We were 30 altogether. And this is my grandmama Mim's house. Eventually, Aunt Helen, the one with the 10 kids, inherited this house, and I don't know who lives here now, but this is the Japanese plum tree that we would always harvest from. And it's a long shotgun house. A lot of shotgun houses built back then. And in the back, my grandpa Pompo, we used to call him Pompo, Richard Gonzalez from Laredo. And my maternal grandmother's name Flora Gonzalez, Flora Trevino. They lived in this house and raised 5 girls. And yeah, so I don't know who lives here now, but this is where we would come every Sunday, and all the aunts would gather around, drink their coffee, and kids would play. I don't know how we fit 30 kids in the backyard and the front yard, but we did. And then so in the back, it's a pretty long backyard, you know. And my grandpa from Laredo, he became a mail carrier, and unfortunately he passed around the age of 65, right when he was getting ready to retire. He had pancreatic cancer and passed away from pancreatic cancer at the age of about 65. And then Grandmama Mim lived another 30 years after that. She would always she never drove. She would go play bingo on Sundays, and was very lucky. She would always win, and she would distribute the funds to people, you know, like her kids and her grandkids. She always had extra money. And then she worked at Josky's downtown as a sales lady, and people would give her tips and stuff. She was always very abundant for someone who never drove a car, and she had the funniest laugh. She would cackle. I mean, I can still hear her laughing, and it was more of a cackle than anything. And here is 719 Porter. This is where I've spent the first 5 years of my life. Mom and Dad purchased this house 4 doors down from Grandma, and my mom was a school teacher. She went to the University of Texas and got her degree in education, which was kind of rare back in the 55. And she had to fight her dad to go out of town to go to school, and this is where we lived from age. This is where I lived from age 0 to age 5, and then we moved north to Hollywood Park. And back then it was out in the boonies, you know. We were I think we were the fourth house on the development. Herbie Karen built that. Herbie Karen was my dad's good friend who had a mortgage company and played tennis. They were good tennis buddies. And so we would hang out here, and on Sundays we would walk up and down the street, you know, see what was going on. And on the corner there was a laundromat. And then on the other corner, caddy corner from here, you can see where it says Chris and Kids. That was a little convenience store. They called it, back then it was called an ice house, because back then the little refrigerators required a 5-pound block of ice on the top to keep the stuff cold. And then you'd have to replace the ice every day. So people would go to the ice house, get a block of ice, and that was their refrigeration system back in the day. And then there was this gray house that was always like, I don't know, we were always spooked by it. It's been refurbished now, but I always thought it was haunted for some reason. I think it was just because it was vacant, and you know, kids make up stories. But this is where the laundromat was. Obviously, it's not a laundromat anymore. But there's a lot of, redevelopment going on down here. These homes are so solid. Me and my brother and my cousin David had to tear down this one house that my dad bought for $500 from the city, with the provision that you had to, tear it down completely and leave nothing but a patch of ground. So now the ice house is now obviously a Frito pie place. And let's see, what else can I tell you? Over here on this corner, they got snow cones and raspas. And then across the street, I'm across the street right now because I'm going to show you the Colonel's house. Across the street from us, there was this guy. We always called him the Colonel because he was a colonel in the Army, former colonel. And he had this rooster made out of corn. That's what I remember about him. And I'll show you the Colonel's house. That's not it. Oh, that's it right there, the yellow one. We would come sit on the porch, talk to the Colonel. He would tell us stories. And yeah, back then, people had porch swings, and he had a swing right there. That's that yellow house, and it kind of reminds me of my previous first wife, my only wife. She had a grandma that had a house very similar to that one and had a porch swing. So that's the Colonel's house. And we'd come chat with the Colonel, and he never had kids. He had a wife, and we would come talk to the Colonel. And we're just kind of making a long circle here. So yeah, there's 719. That's my old house when I first 5 years anyway. When I was 5 years old, we were in the process of moving out to Hollywood Park, and I went to this. My brother was a year and a half older than I was, and so he was in first grade, and he went to Coker Elementary, and I had to go to kindergarten. And Mom decided to put me in this Catholic school kindergarten called San Juan Kindergarten. And San Juan Kindergarten, they had me so indoctrinated I wanted to be a priest by the time I was 5 years old. I said, what? Anyway, then when we made the transition and moved completely, then I went to the first grade at Coker Elementary. And then in third grade, we went up to Syracuse, New York for a year because my dad got his master's up at Syracuse University for a year. And we had a good time up there because we had some good snow. And yeah, there's Grandma Mim's house right there. Anyway, in third grade, we lived on Nottingham, I think. And we would walk up and down, and the big thing then was rabbit's feet. We would go to the store and get like different colored rabbit's feet for good luck. That was the thing. And yeah, I remember my teachers, Mrs. Dickinson. And they made so much fun of our Texas accent up in New York, we kind of lost it because they just made fun of us. And so we had to start talking properly like a New Yorker, And that's why I don't have that Texas twang. And people ask me, where are you from? I said, I grew up in San Antonio. Well, why don't you talk like a Texan? Well, in third grade, I was traumatized by people who made fun of my accent. So I had to get rid of it. And Now here we are. So we're actually, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 doors down from my grandma's house. So we're on Porter Street. And on the corner here is this large white house. It's covered by this tree cover right here. But it's a huge house. And there was an article written in 2013 by the San Antonio Light newspaper about this house because it has about 4 properties on it, and this is what the most mysterious house in San Antonio, and I'm gonna show you. My cousins, the first time I connected with my first cousin when I got back to San Antonio at the end of March. She goes, "Did you hear about that Indian house?" I go, "No, what?" She goes, "They wrote an article about it." And so here's that Indian house. Everybody's been all spooked about it. And it's actually owned by some really nice people who do rehab. They have urban rehab. So they buy old homes and fix them up. And but this Indian house has Geronimo on it. And it's one of the most enigmatic homes in San Antonio. It's been vacant. Well, hasn't really been vacant. It's been owned, and they keep the construction materials in there now, I think. But the story is hey, how you doing? This native lady. Yeah. This native lady was married to an Englishman from England. So he was all cultured and she was all native, and she built this house right here for her son so that he could teach Native American art out of it. So she hired this guy from Mexico to build it. All these stones come from Mexico, and so she built this house so her son could teach Native American arts, and he wanted nothing to do with it. He was all cultured and multi-talented, went to Annapolis, he played the trumpet, So he was the youngest of 2 children. Daughter didn't want to have anything to do with it. The son doesn't want to have anything to do with it. So it's been sitting. You can read the history if you Google search San Antonio Light newspaper, 2013, 1402 South Mittman. You'll see the article. But it's a fantastic little house, and you can see the symbolism in the front. I know what that means. That's the how. And that big old question mark in there. You saw the question mark, right? Yeah, that's a Mayan symbol. What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen to this planet? We don't know. Only time will tell. And so when they built it in 1932, the guy from Mexico, he was an Indian. He was, native, indigenous American. Well, indigenous Mexican. Maybe mestizo, part Spanish. But he built that house with that symbolism in it. And everybody's like freaked out about it. And back in the day, when he was building that house, not only did he haul the stones up here, but he built that house. And when he was building it on the top floor, he had a fire pit, and he would do his native spiritual rituals up there. And everybody thought, oh, what kind of evil stuff is he doing? He was just praying. All he was doing was praying, and everybody in the community was like spooked, freaked out. He's like, chill out, man, he's just praying. Give him a break. But this it's a rather uneducated part of town, I mean, you don't have a lot of, as you can see, there's not a lot of wealth here. Anyway, so that's the story of 727 Porter Street and Grandmama Mim, Flora Trevino Gonzalez. She had five girls. My mom was the youngest of 5 girls. She and Richard raised 5 girls. And then She had 30 grandkids. I'm one of them. And we're all scattered out, you know. Some people live here in San Antonio still, but not many. Alright guys, well y'all have a great day and we'll talk to you again soon.